My Life is Economics by Raine Howie. Economics is a broad subject, with many concepts to explore. This video will only talk about several. It is important to understand that economics does relate to our everyday lives. Economics impacts the way we live in our world, how we interact with fellow consumers, businesses, and the government. Economics is really about the way we as people react and behave based on certain circumstances, whether that be fluctuations in supply and demand, scarcity, how we perceive and obtain our wants and needs. It's about the choices we make when deciding what we need and want within the limited amount of resources. That leads right into the first economic concept, scarcity. Scarcity is when there isn't enough of something, a product, a service, or a resource to go around. The idea that there are limited amounts of resources for an unlimited amount of wants and needs. This is the root of economic thinking, and that we can't always get what we want. Because people live in a world of scarcity, they cannot have all the time, money, possessions, and experiences they wish. This is also true of institutions and societies. How does this relate to everyday life? Well, there are limitations in life, such as limited labor, raw materials, capital, time, money, etc. These are all important and necessary resources to create goods and services, the things we use and engage with every day. Outputs are scarce only because the inputs are scarce. The whole economy, nation, and world experiences the impacts of scarcity. However, individuals do too, as no one's every want and need can be met. Elasticity is the degree to which individuals change their demand or amount supplied in response to price or income changes. Elasticity is an economics concept that measures responsiveness of one variable to changes in another variable. An elastic good is where a change in the price drastically changes the supply or demand, and an inelastic good is where a change in the price doesn't change the supply or demand. It's important to understand the concept of elasticity as it relates to our everyday lives, as elasticity affects the way supply, demand, and price fluctuates, which directly affects how we as consumers make decisions on what to buy and invest in. We make decisions based on elasticity, which is another economic concept referred to as an incentive. This is why we choose to buy a particular good or service rather than not, or instead of another, usually influenced by a change in price or other variable. A depression is a sustained long-term downturn in economic activity in a national or global economy. A recession is a period of economic decline during which trade and industrial activity are reduced. These two terms are very similar, but a depression is usually more severe, long-term, and devastating. A recession is like a depression, but a little toned down, although severe recession and depression are often used interchangeably. How does this affect everyday life? Well, this greatly impacts a nation, as well as the individuals within it. These cause widespread hardship across a nation, individuals suffering the consequences of an economy collapse, inflation, government issue, or other economic challenge. It's important to know that these kind of declines will affect you and your family. Inflation is a general increase in prices that results in a fall in the purchasing value of money. Deflation is pretty much the opposite, as it is a reduction of the general level of prices in an economy. How does this relate to everyday life? Well, inflation and deflation greatly impact individual lives, as our markets and economy are affected by this fluctuation in currency value. This directly influences the choices we as consumers have to make based on our income and the prices within the market. Inflation can also cause hardship, as the purchasing power of individuals can be greatly reduced based on their personal income. Money is a medium of exchange in the form of coins and banknotes. Currency is a system of money in general use in a particular country. There are a couple different types of money. Commodity money, whose value comes from a commodity of which it is made, such as gold or silver. Commodity-backed money, whose value has a direct relation with the value of a commodity. Fiat money, currency that a government has declared to be a legal tender, but which is not backed by a physical commodity. These are all mediums of exchange, anything generally accepted as representing a standard of value and exchangeable for goods or services. How does this relate to everyday life? Well, we use our nation's currency every day. We work to get paid this currency so we can use it for whatever we need or want. We buy goods and services, which injects that money back into the economy, and the cycle continues. Industrialization is the process in which a society transforms itself from primarily agricultural pursuits into an economy based on the manufacturing of goods and services. Stages of industrialization include primitive equilibrium, transition, takeoff, semi-development, and highly developed. Factors to measure development include GDP, energy consumption, consumer goods, literacy, life expectancy, and infant mortality. Trade, global connections, increased productivity and growth, and industrial activity lead to higher levels of development for countries. How does this impact everyday life? Well, you might not think that industrialization impacts you individually, as the development of countries is a big thing, but that big of a transition is important. We live in the US, a very developed country, as it's not so much about subsistence farming, but instead trade and economic endeavors. But industrialization relates to our everyday lives as we all reap the benefits of our economically developed nation. Globalization is the increase of global connections emerging from the exchange of worldviews, products, ideas, and other components of culture. In general, the term refers to the tendency of countries joining together for economic reasons. However, there are also social, cultural, and political dimensions to globalization as well. Globalization also involves people viewing themselves not only through their national identity, but also as part of the world as a whole. In some ways, globalization brings people of all the world's countries closer together, especially through innovations such as the internet. We are pretty much all part of the globalized world. We experience the effects of globalization on a personal level every day, from the foreign products and goods we import and use to learning about the cultural differences of people all around the world. We get products shipped from all over the world to every other part of the world. We can communicate so quickly, efficiently, effectively, seamlessly, it's insane. The internet is one of the big driving factors of globalization in recent years, as it has allowed people from all over the world to make personal connections with one another like never before. The internet allows exchange of worldviews, ideas, and culture that spreads like wildfire, as the internet has so many opportunities to learn about things beyond yourself and your home country, but the whole world and all its countries, nations, cultures, and people within it. Now that we've learned more about some economic concepts, we can understand how economics can impact many aspects of our individual lives, as well as widespread impact of a nation or world. Thank you for listening.